ridiculous.
Well, here's the thing.
Maybe. Sometimes.
Tell me about this. I want to know more.
Oh, yeah. No.
Holy cow.
We've had a lot of fun.
So, Nicole, tell us about your homecoming hangover.
It's the term I use when I have to stay out past midnight for my kids to drive them home. And last night was my daughter's homecoming, so it was this morning we have the homecoming hangover.
Oh, dear.
Yeah, it was.
How late was it?
I was going to live tweet it, wasn't I?
You were. I was looking forward to like little snipes about all the girls' dresses. What was the most disturbing trend in homecoming dresses this year?
Oh, gosh. Okay, number one. Mm-hmm. Way too short.
Yeah.
Like, we're talking booty short.
Wow.
Number two.
Uh-huh.
Tight. Like,
Oh, jeez.
fitted. Tight.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do the girls who don't have a good body type for that still wear it? Or do they wear something different and look square?
No, they still wear it.
Oh, yes.
Because it's all
is not
about
good.
it's all about being confident in your body.
Well, I guess, but...
And then number three, there was way too many sequins last night.
Were they leaving like a little trail of sequins falling off as they went around?
We did not need streetlights to find this place. My word, there was so many sequin dresses. It was unbelievable. So that was what the dresses were looking like last night. And then the boys and the poor girls, they're in these super high heels.
Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, the boys are wearing Converse and
Oh,
Vans.
man.
Yeah.
It was interesting. It was quite the parade. My friend and I actually, she came with me, which is why I didn't live tweet, because I was actually live tweeting in real life with her.
Right.
And we kind of positioned ourselves in the parking lot about a half an hour before the dance ended so that we could see all the girls come out
Aw.
and see what the trends were.
Oh, my. Should have recorded your commentary. That could have been our interview
Wow.
segment for today.
Right.
Is that what you're seeing where you are too, Catherine? Tight, short, and sequiny?
Pretty much. And high heels,
Oh,
definitely.
super high.
Oh, for the gunny sacks dresses of my youth. Long, comfortable, that
Right.
was the day.
Yeah.
And nobody could see your shoes because it was long. Oh, well, and the boys had leisure suits, so...
Oh,
Yes, that's right. We've seen the pictures. Oh, well, we should probably jump in, right?
Yes.
And
Catherine,
say,
what are we doing this week?
well, welcome to Parenting Roundabout, everybody. This is a weekly podcast about the things that parents are talking about, obsessing about, and complaining about right now. I think we just covered all three. I'm Catherine Haleko, and homecoming feels like a faraway time to me, like 3-4 weeks ago. With me today are Terri Morrow.
Times like this, I feel less bad about the fact that my kids never went to homecoming. At the time it was like, whoa, they should be included. And now I'm like, you know what? Didn't have to buy dresses, didn't have to buy heels, didn't have to worry about that. They look, it's okay.
And Nicole Erdix is here working on that homecoming hangover.
yes. Sometimes wishing my daughter was, in a different era.
Right. So today on the podcast, we're going to talk about grown-up bullies. We're going to ask whether our families could survive without us on our Friday speed round, shout out some stuff we like on the Roundabout Roundup, and do some shameless self-promotion. Anything else new with you guys besides the homecoming situation? Terri, you've had a warm shower?
Yeah, I'm the proud owner of a brand new water heater. My old one having just decided to leak spontaneously. It's funny because we have a sink downstairs in the laundry room that sometimes the washing machine backs up into it and it overflows. So my daughter assumed the water was from there, but as we were trying to mop it up, and it kept not being moppable. It was like it was like as much as we soaked up, there was that same amount left. And then just looking at the pattern of which direction it was flowing on our uneven basement floor, eventually ascertained that it was the water heater, which had a big puddle around it, which was then leaking through the wall into a little hallway, and then the water was gently rolling down in the direction of the washing machine. Oh, no. So we went out and got a wet vac and called the PSE&G, with whom we have these, as I mentioned, I think in the last episode, all these contracts, and they come out and they say, oh, yeah, that's something that's not included. You have to call your plumber. So
Right.
we had to have it replaced, which expense-wise I would have liked not to have to deal with. But it's very nice, and now presumably we will have no problem for a little while. And the plumbers who came were very nice. And I met a 95-year-old plumber, still working.
Oh my goodness.
Still driving.
Wow.
He is the son of the company the son of the founder of the company that we use. And his son was the one who came out to give a quote, and he came along. So that was kind of cool.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yes.
Good for
A
him.
family business. So I'm looking on the bright side.
That's right.
I'm thinking about the good things that happened and not about
Thinking
the bill.
not about that. Wow. So this week, Nicole has our main topic because of a situation that happened.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us about that?
Something less fun than homecoming.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
And water
yeah.
heaters.
Well, maybe more fun than water heaters.
Something more challenging than choosing the right dress.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, it's something that's been brewing over a long time, and part of me thinks we should have stepped in sooner, but then the other part of me is, you want to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you also want to encourage your children to problem solve, and you don't want to quickly step in and, well, some parents do, but depending on the child, for us, we would, we encourage our kids to try and do a little bit of problem solving themselves, as the audience knows, particularly when my daughter leaves things at home and expects me to take her. So anyway, we've had an incident recently where we had to just draw the line with my daughter's coach, and it was really an uncomfortable moment, because the whole time we were questioning, is this adult, is he being a coach, or is he being, a bully? Is he not looking out for the best interest of all the girls on his team? And that was a really stressful time. And so we're in the process of sorting all of that out right now. But I guess my question that I'm throwing out and that I'm asking and that I'm thinking about is, coaches, I mean, we here in America, they're revered for the most part. Mm-hmm. And you sort of get the message that you can't question their decisions, that you can't, they have the ultimate say. Their decisions are the final decisions. And so what indicators are there that maybe those decisions aren't the best? Mm-hmm. And where do you, I don't know, I guess I'm throwing out a lot of questions right now just because of the situation that we found ourselves in. But yeah, I really wonder when is the coach being an adult and being a real coach, or when is the coach being a bully and being somebody who's not having healthy expectations of their team members? So that's my question. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear your thoughts on this.
Yeah, well, Catherine, you deal with this a lot in sports. You have more experience with that than I do.
Well, we've been lucky. I think we've had good coaches for the most part. I can't really think of when we've been in a situation like this, because it's really hard. Like you said, we want our kids to respect authority figures and coaches, and we also complain a lot about parents who are overly aggressive sports parents, who go after the coach and like, why isn't my kid getting more playing time? Or, why? So that's all part of respecting the coach, but then, sometimes the coach is not earning that respect, which sounds like happened in your case. I also think it's tough because kids are motivated differently. I mean, maybe you could say that a coach is a bully if your child is, turned off instead of motivated. But maybe your kid is turned off, but another kid is like, I'm going to show him, So I think that's where it's really, really hard, because every child has a different kind of setting in their brain about how they're going to be motivated to do their best. And, I think for most kids, it's positive reinforcement that works, but not for every kid. So how do you decide, like, not only is this not working for my kid, but I don't think it's working for other kids either. And I don't think it's something that should be allowed to continue. It's really, really hard.
It is.
It is.
And when you get in a group situation with team sports, I think, where you have to motivate the whole group rather than an individual sport where you can tailor your coaching to the particular kid. When you have a whole group, I mean, my only experience of this is with like marching band. And the director, some kids absolutely revered him, and some kids hated his guts and left and complained. And it's, I could see you certainly, if you walk by the practice, you can hear him just screaming at them and picking on particular kids. And it sounds awful, but it also seemed to me that he sort of picked who he picked on as kids who could handle it, and then the others, not wanting to be yelled at, would do what they were supposed to do. I don't think he ever picked on my daughter. I think he knew that would not be a good idea. So, or maybe he picks on kids that he thinks need to leave. So I could see the value of it, even though if it was my kid, I would be ticked. But, to make 100 teenagers all do the same thing, I see the value of fear. You want him to feel, I don't want him to yell at me. I'm going to do this. I'm going to focus. I'm going to pay attention. I'm going to do it right. I don't want to let down everybody. I don't want to get everybody in trouble. And I know when I was in high school, our choir director was the same way. Certain amount of bullying behavior is typical in that, and I know it's typical in team sports. It's hard to see the line. And this is where
I get really upset from a teacher point of view, because I know that you can control large groups without yelling and without instilling fear.
Well, there's a difference between control and getting them to do something precise all at the same time. It's not just a matter of sitting still and being quiet.
Which is control.
Yeah.
You have to take that whole group and have them do what you want them to do at the exact same time. And that, to me, that puts more fear and resentment and anxiety in kids when there are more positive ways of working with groups of kids, and this us accepting this negative behavior from coaches. I mean, we would who else would we accept that behavior from? Would you accept it from their classroom teacher? No. Would you accept that behavior? So
some classroom teachers do, though.
I know, and it's horrifying. There's no need for that behavior.
Yeah.
There's no need. There's ways to work with kids where you don't have to instill fear.
On one of my daughter's teams, the coach works with several levels, right? There's younger kids who don't have as much skill, and then there's, 4 tiers. And she'll say to the parents, like, okay, now your kid is in this higher level. I'm going to be yelling more. I just, I am tougher on them at this age because I know they can take it. And she tells the parents that up front, like, there's going to be yelling. But the kids respect her, and they know that she gets results. And she, sometimes she does have to pick on certain people if they're doing things wrong. But mostly it motivates them to do better. But it's not, it's a correction. It works as a correction, not as a I'm putting you down kind of thing. I think that's a distinction that's very fine, but it matters.
I mean, we've fortunately we've had the experience of having some great coaches. So we've had the opposite experience where there's some really good coaches. One in particular that worked with Josh in his first season of water polo, man, he was fantastic. He was encouraging, he was supportive, and those kids, they worked hard for him because and so I think, I mean, that's just kind of my my opinion. So when you have a problem like this, or when you do have an issue like this, whether or not you're think the coach is being too harsh or not harsh enough, what's the best way to approach the situation? Because I mean, ours was a bit indirect, but how would you approach the situation if you were having trouble with the coach? And some people are not comfortable in face-to-face conversation. Right. So what do you guys think?
Well, I think it depends on the coach and the kid. And, like if it's a team situation, are there other parents and kids that are feeling the same way? Is it the kind of thing where you need to gather in a group and approach the board of directors or the principal or whatever, go over that coach's head sometimes? Or is it the kind of thing where maybe if you had a group of people, you'd feel more comfortable speaking directly with the coach? It's hard.
It is.
I agree.
It's tough.
Yeah, I really, the whole deal of knowing when to step in, when it's a good idea to step in, when you should have your child handle it, when you should group with other parents, I am really bad at that. I mean, I've had to pick a lot of fights over the years, and I look back on some of them and think, I shouldn't have done that, and I think of other times when I should have done something and I didn't, and it's really hard to know. The possibility of improving a bad situation, there's a possibility of that, but there's so much of a possibility of making a bad situation worse. Or making a situation that was really good and you just misunderstood it bad. And I see so many parents picking fights that I would not pick and approaching things in ways that I would not approach them. And then things change for everybody. Somebody complains that their kid is being made to do this thing, and so the administration says you can't do that, and then every time it's brought up, well, we can't do that because somebody complained, and then so I don't know. I have no answer for that, and I hate conflict, and yet I've had to seek it out just because that's how you advocate for your kids,
right?
Now, do you think, Nicole, that it makes a difference if it's a school sport? Ostensibly this person is a teacher. So are there different ways that it should be handled if the coach in question is basically an employee of the school district?
Well, that's a really good question. And I don't know. I mean, first of all, I guess I have a question back to you is, are most high school teachers paid extra to be coaches?
Yes.
In America?
Yeah.
I think so, yeah. Okay. I mean, if it's a school sport, obviously, like the stuff my daughter does is not school sponsored, so
right,
that's separate.
Yeah, I've seen it in the minutes of Board of Ed meetings. At least in our district, they do get extra for it. I don't know if it's that way everything, but I would think so, because it's after school. Usually, it's extra time outside of the normal school day.
Yeah, see, in where we came from, they weren't. It was their own time. So we're a little bit easier on them because we knew that they were giving up their own time. So in this situation, I don't know. See, I don't know, and that's why I throw out this question.
Well, another thing that I wonder about is whether it makes a difference if the mother complains or the father complains.
Yeah.
Sometimes I tell my husband to go and do something because it'll sound better coming from a dad than from a mom.
Yeah.
I think that's true. Totally. I don't know. And I just keep thinking, this is high school. I mean, this is not the Olympics.
Yeah.
And part of being on a high school team isn't just about winning the league. It's about, working as a team, growing socially and emotionally. Like, I think we need to relook at what's the purpose of high school sports. That's something that we're really struggling with in our house right now is how to move forward in this situation because she loves the sport, absolutely loves it. Really works on it outside of school, works on it year round, outside off season. It's not something that she wants to give up, but is this the right avenue? Like, is this a situation where we really fight to have, and fight, I mean really work towards having her stay there and make it a positive situation for her? Or do we just pull her out and have her participate in it in other more positive arenas?
Yeah. How does she feel about it?
She really doesn't know either. She's really struggling as well. Like, it's just this big question mark that's hanging over our house right now because we've invested so much time and energy into it.
You know, there may not be good alternate choices.
That's
right. You know, I mean, for one thing, it's just not the same as being representing your school and being on your school team. But, you know, are there even outside leagues or whatever and off season? So I think that's hard too, you know, when people say, well, you know, you should pull your kid because that's not a good experience. Well, yeah, but then they don't get to play, and that's not right either. So it's really tough.
And then of course the whole college application issue. You know, if you've played on a high school sport for 4 years, that really, you know, that really beefs up your resume. So I don't know.
I think this is one of many things in which there is no good, easy answer. And pretty much everything you do has repercussions that you may or may not anticipate. But, you know.
I mean, you strive for the ideal in which you're going to put your child in a sport. They're going to have a great team bonding experience. The coach is going to be positive and enthusiastic.
Yeah.
Your child is going to develop all sorts of skills. But
in your experience as a teacher, if somebody felt that you were doing something inappropriate, how would you want that parent to approach you?
You know, I am not a face-to-face confrontational person because I cannot, in the moment, I melt. You know, write me a letter, send me an email, call me. I'm not opposed to emails and letters. It gives me time to think about the situation. So I don't need somebody to come up to me after school and lay everything out. And that's usually, and in fact, that's usually the time when things are most heated and most emotional and have the most negative impact. If you're writing an email, you have more time to think about your tone.
But do that, because I've seen a lot of emails that parents do not think about their tone. I may possibly have sent some emails in which I didn't think about my tone, but it's like, put it in the draft drawer for a little while and then go back and look at it before you send it. And I mean, I would say just think about how you would want a parent to put those concerns to you, and then expect the follow-up to be how you would have followed it up when you were. I mean, obviously nobody was ever accusing you of bullying, I would hope, but you know, people interpret all sorts of things differently. I have a friend who just started, got her first classroom experience as a teacher, and the things that parents are coming at her with, and she's complaining about parents, and I'm going, did that, did that. But I'm here for you, pal.
Yeah, it's not easy. And so then I have a lot of empathy for the coach too, because I'm like, I know what it's like to be in that situation too, when people are frustrated and upset, and hopefully I never caused that level of upset, but it's definitely, we're between a rock and a hard place right now.
Yes, well, we sympathize, and hopefully we will come back on this topic maybe when you've gone through some of the conflict and have some either pointers for parents or or ways to revolt.
Yeah, so I don't even know what the takeaway message is here for parents, but other than to say, hey, we are all, I think it's you're not alone.
Yes. We're just here to talk about what you're obsessing and complaining about right now. We're not here to tell you how to handle it. We're just here to obsess and complain with you. So on to happier things. Well, no, actually not on to happier things. We have for our Friday speed round this week, we have a potentially sad thing, which is, I look around at all the things I do for my family, the paying of the bills, the keeping of the records, the filing of the important papers, and I think if something happened to me, let's just say I was incapacitated for a little while. Let's not say that I was hit by a bus. But if something happened to me, would my loved ones be able to stay out of debt and, missed deadlines, and would they ever be able to find their birth certificates? I always say this is something I should do. I should write out all the passwords for all the accounts, where you find all the stuff, because we get nothing on paper anymore. Everything is done online, and I am the only one who is online. And, here's where all this stuff is. I should have a whole list, so if, God forbid, I was not available to do these things, they would be able to do them. I have not made this list. The likelihood of me actually making this list is, let's admit it, not high. So I thought I would ask you guys, what do you do? Do you share this information freely with your loved ones? Would they be able to pick up all the pieces of running your household if you were unavailable to guide them? Catherine, you're away from home a lot. Is your husband able to do, or maybe your husbands do all that stuff, and so they would know. What's the situation like with you?
Yeah, I mean, there's some of it. I feel like I do a lot of the mental keeping track of this one had a flu shot, this one didn't, who's due for a dentist appointment. We do pay the bills online, and I know my husband does know how to get into the bank account online, so that's good. But like when I was away a few weeks ago, I forgot to tell him that the milk was going to be delivered. So he didn't put out the cooler. I mean, it's not a big deal. It wasn't 100 degrees outside, so it was fine. But yeah, it's all of that sort of keeping track stuff that I should do better at sharing the wealth.
Sharing the wealth, or at least cataloging the things that are done. Would they know about the freelance deadlines I have and call people up and say, hey, this is why you're not going to get this manuscript?
Goodness, no.
No.
And I mean, I do all of the bill paying, all of that stuff. Nobody else knows the ins and outs and the even whats of that but me. How about you, Nicole? Do you do all that stuff in your house, or do you and your husband share it? Would he know what to do?
He would have no clue. He's just given his work schedule. I've ended up taking on the bulk of that role in terms of bills, insurances, payments, kids' schedules. So, and actually what I did do a couple of years ago is I did create a little binder in case.
Good for you.
That is such a good idea.
In case something were to happen.
In case of my unfortunate absence.
So and then what I did is I bookmarked all of the important sites that I go, all the bank sites and the insurances. I bookmarked that on our computer. So if they know my login to my computer, they all know that one. But if they go in there and see the bookmarks, they'll know.
That's a good idea. That I could probably manage to do.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's really, my daughter might be able to direct my husband to certain things. It would be a very frustrating time.
Yeah. On top of everything else, I feel like I maybe should, I have a friend, just say to my friend here, I'm going to give this to you at your house. So if somebody robs us, they won't have all our information. But when the time comes, go get on my computer, disengage all the automatic billing, tell them to start sending things in the mail again. And, make sure that stuff is taken care of, because maybe that should be part of my will. It's like, I bequeath all the online bill payment to this person. And then there's like the 150 things that you never think about that you do.
Right.
Yeah.
And who would take over the podcast? Who would call in and say?
Who would we would be frantically messaging you on Facebook. Yes. Where are you, Terri?
Keep dialing me on Skype and nobody ever picks up.
He's not answering.
I'll have to add to the list. Somebody, please go on my Facebook and go to the group and say, hey, she's sitting this one out. Ay. Well,
why don't we move off of that?
one thing we
scary
will remember
topic.
to tell you is that you can most likely hear a new speed round every Monday through Thursday if we are somewhere where we can record and
As long as
capable of
we-
doing so, as long as we all shall live. And they will be on happier topics than this most of the time.
Most of the time.
Yeah.
Well, I think we have some fun, happy things
We
in our
do.
Roundabout Roundup. So let's go to that. This is our weekly segment of some of the things we've read or seen or used recently that we want to shout out and share with you. So, Terri, what do you have for us?
This is my weekly Hamilton installment, apparently.
Yay!
By the time you are listening to this podcast, this will be somewhat old news, but the week that we were recording this, the listing for the long-awaited Hamilton Mixtape finally was released, and it will be coming, I believe, in December. But you can find the list of all the songs and artists on it already online, and two of the songs from it, a recording of My Shot by The Roots and a recording of Quiet Uptown by Kelly Clarkson, in full heart-wringing mode.
Oh my gosh, yes.
You can actually listen to those now. They are on all of your music listening services, and they are also on YouTube. So anybody can listen to them, including my children, who I still cannot get to listen to anything Hamilton.
Not even Kelly Clarkson.
Not even Kelly
huh?
Clarkson. My daughter showed interest, and I keep saying, I'll play it for you now. You want me to play it for you now? And she goes, later. So it's another batch of Hamilton music for everybody in my family to ignore and be annoyed by. So yes, it's exciting, but I'm very excited. It's like that we had the documentary now, and now we await the mixtape, and then after that there will be something else. But
Terri, you need to start your own fandom here. of
well, there is.
Hamilton.
I am like ridiculously
But one of
enthusiastic
many.
within my little world, but in the greater world, every time I feel like people are looking at me funny that I am too obsessed, I go onto Lin-Manuel Miranda's Twitter feed and I click on responses to his tweets, and I see 10 or 15 people going, Lynn, pay attention to me, and then I feel better. So I'm not doing that yet. I am just enjoying and passing it on. So, Catherine, what do you have this time? I see you have something about one of my favorite new shows, which I am now 2 episodes behind on.
Yeah, so we all have been pretty into Speechless, the sitcom with Minnie Driver and many others. So on Decider.com, Joe Reed, who Terri and I have listened to on Extra Hot Great, he did an interview with John Ross Bowie playing the dad on Speechless, and it's just a nice interview where he talks a little bit about, what they wanted the show to be and how conscious everybody was about not making it be stupid, like not making it be like, look how great we are because we have a character with special needs, like just the sensitivity that was shown by everyone in putting this together. And he just seems like a fun, nice person. So check that out. It's a quick little interview on Decider.com.
I have to look that up because I've really enjoyed his character on the show, and I've really enjoyed all the interviews I've seen with him. So he's somebody that I was kind of a little bit aware of from The Big Bang Theory, but had never really known much about before, and am very favorably impressed.
Yeah, I think he's really good on the show. So, Nicole, what do you have? Is it the thing that I saw on your Instagram?
Yes. Oh my gosh, we're to compensate for the homecoming hangover and the high school issues that we're having. My husband brought home yesterday, all the way from Wisconsin, lots and lots of fabulous cheese.
Wow.
So much cheese. It's really impressive.
Well, that is the place for it.
So yes, and so he went to a place called Promagination in Madison, Wisconsin, and they helped him select all sorts of delicious cheese. And I'm sure, I haven't looked yet, but I bet you could go on their website and order it and have them shipped. OMG.
Include the link.
There's some great cheese there.
Wow.
Yes, that's my shout out.
Awesome.
Well, we've felt cheesy before, but not quite in that sense. So with that sounds good. We will link to that and look into cheese for everybody for Christmas. Just send everybody cheese.
Sounds good.
I'm telling you.
Well, moving on from that, this is normally our interview segment, but this week when we decided we were going to talk about adults being bullies, mostly from the coach and end of it, it reminded me that way, way back in the distant early days of the Parenting Roundabout podcast, when we were just a bunch of about.com experts talking on Blog Talk Radio, we did an episode on parent bullies. And we went and looked back on that and pulled a little bit of it out for you. It's actually Catherine and I and Amanda Morin, our recently departed member, talking about some things that you can do to deal with parents who are bullies and also to avoid being a bully yourself, no matter how much fun it may be. So we're going to play a little bit of that now. And in addition to appreciating the wisdom we brought to this topic, please also appreciate how much better our sound is now than it was then. I have cleaned this up as much as I can, but listen and enjoy.
How do you handle parent bullies or keep from becoming one? Catherine, I think you had some good ideas about that.
Well, I wonder, and I certainly don't think that this applies to everything, but sometimes I think when people are stirring up trouble, then if we can find a way to include them more so that they feel they have a little more power. I mean, you certainly don't want to give them too much power, but to feel like, okay, I'm working on this situation from the inside rather than poking at it from the outside. Maybe in some cases that is more effective than just trying to ignore or shut down the behavior or go over those people's heads or whatever it is. It certainly wouldn't work for every situation and for every kind of bully that you encounter, but sometimes I think that might be a way to go.
Yeah, I mean, certainly like making them part of the team and trying to analyze it all together instead of just, I'm angry, do something.
Right. I think sometimes it's hard to figure out what's driving that behavior. Sometimes I think, okay, well, these people just clearly feel like they're better than, their kids better than we're better than all of these things. But sometimes I wonder if it's about feeling less than. If the bigger I present myself, the more powerfully I present myself, nobody will notice that behind it I don't feel like I belong at all.
Yeah.
And I think, Catherine, that speaks really well to that, to include other people in a more meaningful way, perhaps can kind of get to the bottom of that a little bit. And it's really easy to say right now. It's easy to say this is what to do. I always think that when I'm giving parenting advice, I always want to say, it's really easy to say, but let me tell you, in the moment I've said some things that I really wish I hadn't,
Right.
But I think sometimes you have to be able to step back and say, okay, I'm really emotional here. This isn't personal,
Yeah.
I don't know. And I try really hard not to complain in front of my kids about other parents. I try really, really hard.
Man, I have made that mistake, and I have.
It comes back to you.
Stuff.
Yeah.
part of his disability, he echoes things. One time we had some words about an aide, and then I heard them coming back to me in a meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, it's not for public consumption, but he had just gone back to school, and I think I had complained, why doesn't she do her job? And apparently he had gone to school and asked her why she didn't do her job. So, you got to be really careful about that.
Yeah, and my son has some of those similar things. He has some social cueing mismatches, and some of the things that I would say, I worry that he's we'll go back and say, well, my mom says that you don't have to, whatever. So I try really hard to do my complaining outside of my kids' hearing. I'm not always as successful as I wish I were, but I hope that other parents remember that too. That's one thing that I'm always hoping. Even if the only thing I say to a parent is, well, I know you're upset, you're mad, you're going to handle this however you're going to handle this. Please don't do it in front of your kid, because that's behavior they're going to think is okay.
Yeah. You want to teach respect to some degree, you know. And if you're complaining about another parent, about the teacher, you started giving your child permission to be disrespectful to that person. And even if you don't feel respectful to that person, they're going to get in trouble if they're disrespectful.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, yeah, you have to watch that. I remember I was a volunteer at a church religious education program, and some kid had been messing up in class, you know, just goofing off and distracting everybody. So the head of the program had called the parent to come and get him and to take him home. And that parent stood in the hallway arguing with her in front of the kid for like 15 minutes. And I'm thinking, well, you know, even if she's right, you could see the smirk on this kid's face that now he had no incentive to ever be respectful again. Because his mom was just teaching him that there were absolutely no consequences to that.
Yeah. We actually had a run-in earlier this week, with a situation at school, and we actually had a principal on the phone say to my husband, "Well, you're not saying this in front of your child, are you?" And my husband lost his temper a little bit and said, "We have much more sense than that." You know, like, but I'm glad people are asking the question, but it just didn't come out well. It was kind of a
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well at all.
Yeah, and you remember what you wonder what they say about you at school in front of your kid. So,
I wonder that all the time.
Say that, well, here's Mom. Oh.
They know me when I call, so I think they must be going, "Oh, it's Mrs. Morin again," you know.
Uh-oh. Yeah, you get that reputation, don't you? I finally got to the point where they just said, "I'll just give Mrs. Morin whatever she wants and shut her up," and that was okay. Except then nobody ever gave me any advice, and I needed it. So sometimes you can be too successful at bullying, and then you're on your own. And sometimes the things you want are not the right things. You will get them anyway. So
it's a tricky business, parenting.
In other words, it really is.
I mean, maybe it's better to be careful what you push for. You know, if we're talking about bullying, be careful what you push for.
Yeah, you know, and listen to what other people are saying. Yeah, sometimes if you're too much of a bully, you don't get the feedback that you need, and your child doesn't either. So, you know, just I guess our overall advice would be take a step back and see if what you're doing is really productive. And when you're dealing with bullies, sometimes taking a step back is a good idea too. Not getting caught up in it, not going along with it yourself, certainly.
And we will also link in our show notes to the entire episode if you all would like to listen through the staticky and poor sound quality of our dial into Blog Talk Radio days. But
know those well.
Yes. And now,
yes, our final segment today is our little shameless self-promotion that we bring you every week and direct you to some things on our sites that we think you should take a look at. So, Terri, what have you got for us?
Well, I have recently started being the blog manager for Friendship Circle, which is a very great special needs parenting blog that I have often shared things from and read and enjoyed. So I'm very, very happy to now be part of their team and to be working on that blog with them. So come and check it out at friendshipcircle.org/blog. Would love to see you there.
Cool. Catherine, how about you?
I just posted a new piece on Very Well about whether kids need fitness wearables like Fitbits and all those things.
Oh, yeah.
My son is asking for one, and I'm a little hesitant. You know, these things are not necessarily cheap. So I wrote about, you know, some of the benefits and also some other things that you need to watch out for if you're considering getting your kid a fitness wearable or tracker. So that's on Very Well. And
I have not done much writing on my site lately, but I tend to be posting a lot more on Facebook these days. So go check out my Inclusive Class Facebook page, and you'll see articles and information for parents and teachers who work with kids of all different abilities.
Excellent.
Great. So that's it for this week's episode of Parenting Roundabout. We hope you've enjoyed it and that you'll join us every week. You can listen to podcast episodes on parentingroundabout.com or download it from iTunes. download the podcast. Please subscribe so that you get all of our podcasts and mini podcasts. You can follow us on Twitter, where I am at About Family Fit. Nicole is at Nicole Eridix, and Terri is at Mamatude. You can follow the podcast on Twitter also. That's at Roundabout Chat. And look for us on Facebook, Pinterest, Tumblr, YouTube, and Instagram. We are not on Snapchat. That's about the only one that I see us not. So best of all, stop by our blog, though, at parentingroundabout.com. That's where you can read recaps, find links and everything we've mentioned, and talk back to us in the comments. Thanks to John Moran for providing our in and out music, and I wish everyone a great week.